What's going on, guys? It's Andrew from Sunrise Bassin. So for today's video, I'm going to kind of show some footage from the Yeti FLW College Series practice on Lake Seminole. And I'm going to talk over and kind of explain what we were doing in practice. That way, if you ever find yourself at a big tournament or really any tournament, doesn't even have to be Lake Seminole, you kind of get an idea of what we did in practice and like why we did it essentially. So a couple details about Lake Seminole first. It's on the Georgia-Florida line. It's a pretty big lake. I consider it more of a Florida lake. It fishes like a Florida lake at least. There's a lot of standing timber. In fact, if you ever find yourself on Lake Seminole, the best advice I can give you is stay in the boat lanes, because that timber runs all the way up to the boat lanes and there's not much give on either side of the boat lanes. So if you're running, especially at full speed, stay in the boat lane is definitely the safest way to get around that lake. On top of the standing timber, there's also quite a few grass mats. There's quite a few flats with hydrilla, and you're even able to find a couple of spots with pads. The biggest problem we had in practice really was that we were expecting to show up and find a clear water lake. We had heard that, especially the two main creek channels, that the water is usually really clear, and it wasn't. It was super dirty. Water temps were between 60 65 depending on where you were in the lake. For practice, we had 80 85 degree air temps, and we had in mind that tournament day, which was the next day, the temperatures dropped significantly, and we had a big northerly wind that rolled in. So we were kind of like keeping that in mind, that the weather was going to completely change for tournament day. So we went out there and did a whole bunch of different things. Anyways, let's jump into it. So we pulled up. First spot was a deep hole amongst a lot of standing timber. When we were looking at the maps for the lakes, we kind of really liked how that area looked. And so it was the first area we ran to right in the morning. And we fished that with a variety of things: spinnerbaits, lipless, square bills, Texas rigs. We really had a lot of confidence in that spot going into it, and we spent an hour throwing around the area, and it just never really saw any fish, never graphed any fish. So we started moving shallower and shallower. That area that we were in was a hole that was about 20 feet deep. We started getting some 10-foot water. And if you fish with me at any point, I will be throwing topwater at some point during the day. It's a given. So I spent about 30 minutes throwing walking baits and whopper ploppers, really just trying to get the skunk out of the boat, get some kind of blow up. I didn't think it was going to be a viable bait for tournament day, but we were just trying to locate some fish at that point. Never really got much on that. Ended up moving up into some standing grass about an hour and a half in. We started flipping with missile baits, D-bombs. We had some biz baits, killer craws. All of this was on some Wu tungsten weights, and we were flipping into the grass. Spent, 35, 40 minutes doing that. Kind of was pretty confident the fish were going to move into something at some point, because there was such high temperatures. It was 80, 85. We thought that they were going to move into stuff. And unfortunately, we were just never able to find anything in that grass either. So we ended up scrapping where we were, which was at the mouth of one of the creeks, and we ran way far up one of the creeks. And we pulled up on a channel swing that went from 5 to 20 feet right out in front of some docks, a lot of standing timber. And we started throwing liplesses and chatterbaits, kind of covering all kinds of depths. Broke out the Texas rig, we're kind of dragging a worm. And we ended up hooking into one of the only fish we caught in practice, and it was a bass right out in front of a dock with a chatterbait. And this was really a good sign for us. Like, we were able to find a bass, and that was a huge confidence boost. Got the skunk out of the boat. Really didn't spend too much time at that spot. We really liked it, and we pulled off of it within 20, 30 minutes and started running back down that creek that we initially ran up. And as we were running down, we saw a little feeder river that ran in, and we pulled into there, and it was actually the only spot that we found in that lake that had clear water. the whole practice and tournament, that was the only spot that we found that had clear water. And it had a lot of pads. Spent about 30-40 minutes flipping pads. We ran lipless down the edges of the pads. Caught a couple pickerel. Didn't really see much. We think it was most likely due to the fact that there really wasn't anything different about it. There was just straight pads for like a mile. So there was not really anything you could target. I'm sure there were fish in there if you picked it apart really slowly, but we didn't really have time to do that, especially during tournament day. So for practice, we said, this was kind of useless. Ended up running out of there. And at that point, it was midday, so we thought it would be best to start moving close to where we were going to have takeoff. So takeoff for us was up the river. So we started running up that river, and as we were running, we started looking for grass flats. This was kind of going in. We had in mind, like, that deep hole was the first spot. And the second spot we really wanted to check was grass flats. And so we pulled up on grass flats that were in 5 to 10 feet of water. Kind of really thought that these were going to be key spots, especially with pre-spawn coming to an end and spawn starting up. So we really targeted flats that were near cuts. And we thought for sure there was going to be fish staged on them. The main problem with this idea was that we really never found any good hydrilla. There was a couple of patches of good hydrilla, but a lot of it was not too good. A lot of it was really dead. We threw lipless crankbaits and chatterbaits on what we did see that was good. And we did that for a very long time. We moved around a lot. We went upriver, we went downriver, just really never found anything on those flats. So that kind of knocked out one of our main plans. So at that point, we were kind of getting desperate. We started running into some cuts, looking for some bedding fish. Fortunately, the water was just crap. We couldn't see much, so it was really hard to see beds. Kind of abandoned that idea really quick. We flipped some docks for a little while, flipped some riprap. Pretty much at that point, had no clue what to do. We started running further and further up the river. We fished a couple more grass flats. Started flipping mats. That's kind of how we ended the day, actually. It was flipping mats. And by the end of the day, it was a rough practice. It really was. And we had really no clue what we were going to do in practice other than the fact that we had that one channel swing. And, I am super glad we did have that one channel swing because it turned out to be the best place we could go on tournament day. And we were really glad that we pulled up on that in practice.
We set the hook at the same time.
Let's go!
There he is.